What's going down, guys? This is my survival rover tutorial. So today I'm going to show you how to build a very affordable rover that you'll have all the supplies immediately accessible to build this rover right from the get-go when you spawn into your world. So we're going to be building the rover that I built in my Let's Play, but you can apply all of this to your own build if you wish to. There's going to be some very useful tricks here. So the length of this vehicle is 15 blocks. We've got it colour coordinated so you can count them if necessary and pause the video. The gap between the wheels, we've got a 2-block gap right at the front there, and then we started the first wheel arch, and then it's 5 blocks gap in between each wheel. All the wheels are the same distance away from the chassis, and if you look in the front here, you can pause it there as well, and that the wheels are actually, for the wheel arches that spread out, they are actually 6 blocks away from the main chassis. So hopefully this is going to be useful for you if you want to follow along and build this same rover. So I'm going to go ahead and build this up now, and we'll start off with the flight seat. That goes in there first. Then we'll have an ore detector. It's going to be very useful. You're going to need that so that you can find your ores, otherwise you're just going around blind. So then a remote control block, because you can't control it with just the seat alone. And make sure that is positioned correctly. You can use the dialogue on the right, the image in there normally depicts the right orientation for it, so that is forward for us, so that will work just fine. Then we need to stick a gyroscope in. You might be wondering why using a gyroscope on a land vehicle. It's very useful actually, because if you become airborne for some unknown reason, you are going to be able to sort of orientate yourself in the right manner so that you land on your wheels and you don't flip and break all your bits. So, just on top of the remote control, we're going to stick an antenna in case you do have an awful day and wreck this vehicle. Plonk that on top there. And then I had a battery here, just the one. You can go more if you'd like to, it's up to you. Then a medium cargo container with a large door facing that way. Another one. You have got room for more on here. I've left it with just a gap. I'll probably do something with that later. But for the moment, we'll stick to how it is so far. So we need to have our solar panel on like that. And that's pretty much it, guys. So that is how you build my rover. Actually, I do want to mention, this is very important here. When you're placing your wheels right, make sure that the rounded bit here is facing towards the top like it is in this video. And the flat bit is at the bottom. Because if you don't do that, your wheels are actually upside down and it can cause some confusion when you're setting the wheels up. So yeah, that's that. This is how I've got my wheels set up. The stuff at the top's not very important, but this stuff down here really is. So if you want to copy my rover to the T, just copy down these settings, put them in yours, and your rover should theoretically be as stable as mine. Setting up of the wheels. Let's go into our control panel real quick. As you can see here, I've named all of my wheels. I can easily distinguish which one's which. Really important you do that, otherwise you're just going to have a nightmare of a time trying to pick out what wheel's what if you're trying to do individual settings for those. For example, as you can see here, only my front and rear tyres are turning the steering. My centre ones stay put. I find that works well with my vehicle. It might differ for your vehicles. You'll just have to play around with that and see how you get on. But what we will touch on now is we've grouped them up as well. Good idea, do that. These are the most important things you want to be looking at. Power is really useful. If you've got a really steep hill and you get caught out on it and you just can't push up it, you just quickly switch up, go into your control panel, bump up your power a little bit, and you get that extra force to get you up that hill. And also, if you're stuck somewhere in some like really awkward terrain, bumping that up can actually sometimes give you that little wiggle and a little bit of force to get you out of that tight spot. Friction is what it is. Regulates wheel friction by changing pressure in the tyre. So that essentially, let's get moving. That essentially determines how much slip you have. So like when I turn, there's a bit of skid in it. If I use the gyro, we skid even more. So I was moving the mouse there to activate the gyro. But there's a little bit of skid to it, and I find a little bit of skid is good. because I don't know, a little bit of drift. If it's too rigid, it gets clanky, and you might wind up flying out of control. So let's just tweak that a little bit and see what happens. So friction, let's bump it up to 100%. Let's just see if we can see a difference on that. So on a turn, see what I mean? That is turning real hard and could possibly flip us if we're not careful. Let's try it with the gyro as well. Yeah, it's a bit crazy, isn't it? So that's not the best thing in the world. You just need to play around with it, really. But yeah, find that sweet spot and you're laughing. So we'll bump that back down to 45, which is what we was on. Now we're going to touch on dampening and strength because they're both related. Dampening is essentially what your suspension will absorb, the bounce, the uneven terrain that you're rolling across. It'll absorb all those bumps and unevenness in the ground. So the higher we set that, the more movement in the suspension. And the strength is essentially how quickly the suspension returns to its normal state. So it will compress and then bounce back. So we don't want a high setting for that. We want to have quite a low setting, really. So let me just try and show you. If we bump this up, this could end terribly. So I'm going to bump strength all the way up. And I'm going to turn dampening all the way up as well. And let's see what kind of stuff that gives us. So we'll take our handbrake off. We'll travel across this uneven terrain. It's probably going to be very detrimental. So you see how rigid that is. It's absolutely dreadful. And you can get that. You can get that in a variety of different ways of configuring that. But what we'll do for now is we'll try and tweak it a little bit so you can see it in a nicer setting, see it working in a nicer manner. So let's take the dampening down. We're on uneven terrain, so I feel like 70% is good. We don't want it to return to its natural state so fast. So I'm going to say something like, let's see how 10% responds for us. So let's get ourselves back up there. Try and get over this terrain. And you can see the way the wheels move. They move a little gentler. Things are a lot smoother, you know, and that means when things are smoother, you're not going to have as many breakages. So that's really good. Height offset will literally just control the height of the wheel on the axle. So the wheel's on the ground and the axle connected to the chassis will either raise or lower. But to be quite honest with you, I'm not seeing any movement in that, so I'm not sure if that's bugged or if I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I misunderstand it, but that seems to be bugged to me in my opinion. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Now, suspension travel. If you have it at 0, as it says here, setting to 0 will effectively lock the suspension. So this is saying how much movement do you want in your suspension. Very simple. How much do you want that? How far the distance of the bounce do you want to occur? So I would say set this fairly high. Off terrain. Off-roading at least. So are the brakes off? The brakes are off. Let's get moving. This is some awful terrain, but as you can see the wheels are moving and we're getting some bounce in them. So yeah, that is that. And then if we go back in here, we have speed limit. Very simple. That will, I've got mine set to 100 kilometers an hour, so that is locked at that. It won't go any further. I'm sure you guys understand that anyway. So I hope this has helped you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Leave a like if it helped you. See you later.